Art from Home, the Rubin Museum of Art's series of art workshops that you can do with your families either at home or outside. We're a museum of Himalayan art and ideas located in New York City, and we're here to inspire you to get creative, get a little messy, and make something out of things that you have at home or even materials that you find outdoors.
Hello, my name is Maria. I'm one of the teaching artists here at the Rubin Museum, and welcome to Decorative Dirt. Today we are going to be working with a material you can find pretty much anywhere in the world, but usually you can find it at your local park. Today we are here in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and what we're working with is dirt. So why are we working with dirt? Well, it's an incredibly eco-friendly art material to work with. We'll show you how to work with it in a moment, but first let's talk a little bit about grounding and what that means in mindfulness. Mindfulness, for those who don't know, is the act of being cautious, conscious, and aware of your surroundings, whether it's taste, smell, touch, sight, taking everything around you into consideration and using that to continue about your day, continue about your actions, help you decide what to do next. And mindfulness is an important part of Buddhism. Buddhism is something that we explore a lot at the Rubin, and we have a lot of beautiful paintings and sculptures of Buddhist figures, teachers, and very important Buddhist images like the mandala. But today we're talking about the Buddha Shakyamuni. The Buddha Shakyamuni was originally born as Siddhartha Gautama. He was a prince, and when he was born, his father, who was a warrior king, was told by a fortune teller that his son would either become a great religious spiritual leader or he would be a fierce warrior. His father, being a warrior king, of course, wanted his son to become a warrior as well. So in order to shield him from the suffering and pain in the world, he decided to lock his son up in the palace, give him everything he could ask for, and this way he would never want to leave the palace and he would only know the warrior life. After about 29 years of this luxurious lifestyle, Siddhartha became pretty bored within this palace and within these palace walls. And he decided to break out and go against his father's wishes and explore the world beyond this beautiful palace. But once he stepped out of that palace, he realized that there was a lot of really painful things to witness, like old age, sickness, death, a lot of things that he's never even seen in his 29 years of life. So the Buddha decided, in order to understand why people suffer, he was going to meditate. So what the Buddha did is he found a beautiful Bodhi tree, similar to the beautiful greenery we have around us right now. He sat down in a meditative position, which some would consider a lotus position, kind of like this. This would be a half lotus. And he meditated, and he meditated, and he meditated, and he meditated until bam, one day he woke up. And in Buddhism, waking up essentially means waking up from the karmic cycle that we're born into. So in order to make the world aware and witness this moment of his enlightenment, the Buddha did something called the earth-touching pose, or the earth-touching mudra, where he's seated in a lotus position, so similar to this seating style. He had his left hand on his lap facing up and his right hand touching the floor. And this was a gesture that signaled to Mother Earth to come and witness his enlightenment. So when you see images of the Buddha, a lot of the times, you will see him doing this gesture. So the reason why we're talking about Buddhism and the Buddha and this moment of enlightenment is because the Buddha in that moment was connecting with the earth. And that is something that you can do just by taking a walk. You can do by creating art with dirt. You can do with sitting in a park and talking with a friend. And today, we are going to be connecting with the earth by literally playing with it, making art with it, and invoking our own creativity. Today, the materials that we're going to be working with is, of course, dirt, sourced from any local park. Again, today we're in Prospect Park. You can also grab a jar to mix the dirt with water, and this will create a paint kind of texture. Of course, you need some water to mix the dirt with. Then we've got different kinds of paint brushes, which can create different kinds of textures, and you can use different techniques. We can get into that later. I've also got a ruler in case we want to explore some straight lines in our work. And then I've got all these different kinds of paper. So I've got sketchbook paper, copy paper, and construction paper. We also have this clipboard, which will just give us a hard surface to work on. But if you're at home, you can, of course, use a table, your floor. Just be aware it might get very messy. So here we have the clipboard. I've selected to try out this yellow construction paper first, my jar for mixing, paintbrushes, water, and dirt. So what you're going to do first is just add a little bit of dirt to the water. There's no exact measurement you can really make. You kind of just have to measure as you go. So I think that's a good amount of dirt and twigs. There might be twigs, and that's okay. Next, I'm going to add the water. You shouldn't add too much water so that it overflows. But here we're going to begin to mix. I will grab this standard paintbrush to start with and just begin mixing. Now you can see it's a little bit watery. It might be nicer to have a thicker consistency, but let's try this out and see how it feels. So get a good amount of muddy paint on that brush, and when you're ready, you can begin to apply to your paper. So because it's yellow construction paper, it might be a little hard to see, but as it dries, it will get darker. So you can add there. And we're going to put that aside for now, and we'll check it out once it's dry in a few. Next, I'm going to try out this, Next, I'm going to try out this watercolor paper. And you can see a little bit of the difference of how the dirt is applied. So I'm just going to do a line here. And we can see that it is definitely a little bit more visible, but it is still a little thin. So what I'm going to do is add just a little bit more dirt to this mix. Mix that up. Now that it's a little bit thicker, we can apply that, see how it feels. And that is definitely a lot darker and a lot more visible. We can check out how that dries in a little bit. Now that you have a consistency that you feel a little more comfortable with, you can begin drawing some images. I'm going to try to draw a tree with the dirt. And I'll try it out with this paintbrush first. on this regular copy paper, and then we'll see how it looks with other kinds of paintbrushes. So here is the tree trunk, the branches, the roots, and you can even make the leaves. So that's with this regular paintbrush. Let's try out with more of a sponge brush if you have this accessible to you. Get that nice and filled up with mud paint. Now you can use these straight lines to maybe create some straighter branches. And you can use the sponge part to fill in some space. And then add the leaves. And there we've got two abstract trees made of mud paint. Let's try a lighter color of construction paper, this nice lavender, and maybe a different kind of paintbrush. Let's go for a much thinner paintbrush here. And we can draw, what should I draw? Lotus. Let's go for the classic lotus. For those who don't know, lotuses grow out of the mud. You can see a lot of lotus imagery at the Rubin Museum, both in Hindu and Buddhist art. And lotuses represent rebirth and beauty. And all the deities, most of the deities we see, are seen sitting on lotuses as a throne, so it can also represent a throne. And the thing about a lotus is that it grows out of the mud. So there's a lot of beauty in something that grows from what can be seen as so gross or so ugly by so many people, but can produce so many beautiful things. Kind of like what we're doing today. We are making this wonderful art out of mud. And there's a nice lotus on our lavender paper. And we can see now too on the yellow construction paper, now that it's drying out, some of the dirt has begun to wipe off. So you can just gently wipe it, and then you've got a flat image made of dirt. So there's a lot of different methods you can use to make your piece. Again, you can use different kinds of brushes, different ways of holding the brush, and you can create images that are recognizable or just abstract images and explorations of what the mud can do. Thank you so much for joining us today. If nothing else, remember that you can make art out of so many things, even dirt and water, which you can find anywhere. If you can, try and step out of your home, of your room, of your computers, step away and get into nature, get next to a tree, sit down next to a tree and meditate if you can. Sit at a body of water, take deep breaths, and just connect back with the earth. Kind of like the Buddha and his earth-touching mudra to come and witness his enlightenment. Come out and touch the dirt to come and witness your inner peace and the mindfulness that you can practice when you're stepping out and walking around. So take care of the earth. Make sure that if you want to dispose of these, you can dispose them in a trash can or recycling, or you can keep them in a pile in your room of all the mud paintings you'll create in the future. Either way, thank you so much for joining us and for creating this eco-friendly, lovely, fun, dirty and messy but beautiful art with us. And I hope to see you sometime in the future at the Rubin. Goodbye.
Thank you to our generous sponsors for making Family Sundays possible: Agnes Gund, New York Life Insurance Company, the Prospect Hill Foundation, Tiger Barron Foundation, Con Edison, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, New York State Council on the Arts, our Board of Trustees, donors, and members.